Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of US 5-cent coins, as some of these coins are rare and can make you rich overnight. In this video, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we're diving into the fascinating story of a small but powerful piece of American history, the 1943 United States 5-cent coin, also known as the wartime nickel. This is no ordinary coin. This tiny piece of metal carries with it the weight of World War II history, national sacrifice, and, for a lucky few, the potential for a life-changing payday. Make sure to stay with us to the very end, because we're going to reveal the unbelievable value this coin could have in the collector's market. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. Let's take a journey back to 1943. The world was in turmoil. The United States was fully engaged in World War II. Every resource, every ounce of material, was being redirected to support the war effort. And that included nickel, the key metal used in minting the 5-cent coin. Because nickel was needed for armor plating, tanks, and weaponry, the U.S. Mint had to make a major change. In a remarkable pivot, they created a new version of the coin using a mix of silver, manganese, and copper. These wartime nickels were a symbol of adaptation and ingenuity, and they became some of the most intriguing coins in American numismatic history. Now, let's talk about what makes the 1943 nickel so exciting for collectors. First, it's one of the only nickels in U.S. history made with silver. That alone sets it apart from the rest. But there's more, so much more. During the minting process, errors occurred. And as every seasoned collector knows, errors are gold, not literally, but in terms of value. One of the most coveted errors from the 1943 nickel is the double die error. This happens when the die that strikes the coin accidentally hits it more than once, slightly off-center each time. The result? A fascinating, ghost-like doubling of the letters or numbers on the coin. If you find a 1943 nickel with this kind of error, especially in the word Monticello or 5 cents, hold on tight. You've got something special. Another legendary rarity is the 3/2 date error, though much rarer in nickels than in other coins. These oddities are the result of reusing dies and mistakenly overpunching one date over another. While not commonly reported for the 1943 nickel, any anomaly like this can skyrocket a coin's value. Also, be on the lookout for off-center strikes, planchet errors, and lamination flaws. Any one of these defects can transform a humble coin into a collector's dream. The key to unlocking the real value of these coins lies in two factors: condition and rarity. If a coin has survived more than 80 years without significant wear, if it still shines with that original mint luster, and if it shows any signs of a minting error, its value can rise dramatically. A coin graded as mint state by a professional grading service, such as PCGS or NGC, is like the holy grail for collectors. Combine that with an error, and you've got something that auction houses would battle over. And let's not forget the human element. Every coin has a story. The 1943 wartime nickel tells the story of a nation in crisis, of innovation under pressure, and of citizens rallying together to do their part. Holding one of these coins is like holding a piece of living history, a small, metallic monument to American resilience. Collectors love these coins not just for their historical value, but because of the thrill of the hunt. Imagine sorting through an old coin jar or inheriting a small collection and spotting that distinct large mint mark above the Monticello building unique to these silver nickels. Then, imagine flipping it under a magnifying glass and spotting an unusual feature, a doubling, a missing detail. That moment of discovery is what drives collectors, the possibility that this humble coin might be something truly extraordinary. So now, the question you've been waiting for: how much can this little piece of wartime metal be worth? If you happen to have a 1943 United States 5-cent coin in uncirculated condition, especially one with a rare minting error like a double die or off-metal strike, it could be worth up to $80,000. Yes, you heard that right, $80,000. From a 5-cent piece to a potential fortune, that's the incredible world of coin collecting. Next time you're going through your coin collection, or even digging through your grandparents' old change, take a second look. Because tucked away in that pile could be a small treasure waiting to be discovered. One coin, 1 year, one mistake at the mint. That's all it takes to turn pocket change into a payout. Top 2, we're diving deep into a coin that almost everyone in the United States has seen at some point. but very few realize the hidden value it can hold. It's the humble but historic 1964 United States 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson Nickel. Now, before you rush off thinking it's just another nickel, I want you to stop and listen closely. Because if you happen to have the right kind of 1964 nickel, especially one with certain rare errors or in exceptional condition, you could be sitting on something extremely valuable. And yes, stay tuned until the very end, because we'll reveal just how high its value can climb. Let's just say, it's not what you'd expect from a 5-cent piece. Let's start with a little background. The year was 1964. The United States was going through a time of transformation. It was the final year before silver was removed from most U.S. coins. Inflation was rising, and demand for small change was booming. That year, the U.S. Mint struck a staggering number of nickels, over 1 billion of them, making it one of the most produced coins in American history. Now you're probably thinking, if there were billions made, how could a single 1964 nickel be worth anything more than face value? Great question. The answer lies in the details. Tiny variations, rare minting errors, and preserved quality that most coins simply don't have anymore. You see, while the vast majority of these nickels went into circulation and suffered the wear and tear of decades of use, only a tiny fraction were preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition. But even among those, a select few carry something even more special: minting mistakes and anomalies that slipped through the cracks and made their way into the hands of collectors or remained hidden for years. Let's talk about those errors. Because for collectors, errors are not flaws. They're treasures. One of the most famous and sought-after errors in the 1964 nickel is the double die error. This occurs when the coin is struck twice with a misaligned die, causing the letters and numbers to appear doubled. If you spot doubling in the word Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date itself, you might have a highly valuable piece. Another fascinating error is the full steps variety, and this one is all about precision. On the reverse side of the nickel, you'll find Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's historic estate. Underneath that building are a series of steps. Most coins, especially ones from 1964, do not show these steps clearly due to weak strikes or worn dies. But if your coin has 5 or 6 sharply defined steps, visible without wear, then you've got what collectors call a full steps Jefferson nickel, and that makes a huge difference in value. Now let's dig even deeper into rarity. There are also extremely scarce specimen strikes or test coins, and in rare cases, nickels from 1964 were mistakenly struck on the wrong planchet, like on a silver dime blank. These wrong metal errors are incredibly rare, and their odd weight and color make them stand out instantly to trained eyes. And condition? That's everything. A 1964 nickel that's been in someone's pocket, tossed in a coin jar, or scraped up by vending machines for decades isn't going to turn heads. But a nickel that's been preserved in mint state condition, with a professional grade of MS65, MS66, or higher, that's a completely different story. Combine that level of preservation with an error or full steps detail, and now you're talking about a coin that collectors will fight over. For collectors, the thrill isn't just in the money, it's in the hunt. It's about finding that one-in-a-million coin, the one that has a story, a mistake, a touch of history. And the 1964 nickel offers all of that. It's from a time of great transition in American coinage. It was the last year of the Philadelphia and Denver mints producing nickels without a mint mark before the design changed. It's a coin with high mintage, but hidden gems, and now, the moment you've been waiting for. How much can a 1964 United States 5-cent coin actually be worth? If you're lucky enough to own a 1964 Jefferson nickel with a rare mint error or in perfect, uncirculated, full steps condition, especially one graded by a trusted grading service, then your 5-cent coin could be worth up to $77,000. That's right, $77,000. From a coin you could have received as change from a soda machine. Let that sink in. So what are you waiting for? It's time to check your coin jars, revisit those old family collections, or browse your local flea markets and estate sales. Because the next big discovery might just be hiding in plain sight, and it could be sitting in your very own pocket. Top 3, we're zooming in on a coin that most people have passed around without a second thought. A coin that might be in your drawer right now, but could be worth far more than just 5 cents. Get ready. Because we're talking about the 1971 United States 5-cent coin, better known as the Jefferson Nickel. At first glance, it might seem like just another ordinary coin. But today, we're going to take you behind the scenes of its history, explore the fascinating minting process, uncover the rare errors collectors dream about, and reveal just how much this little piece of metal could actually be worth. So grab your magnifying glass. Coin lovers, this is going to be a fun ride. Now let's go back in time to the year 1971. Richard Nixon was in the White House. Walt Disney World had just opened its gates in Florida. Gas was around 30 cents a gallon. And in pockets, wallets, and cash registers across the country, the 1971 Jefferson Nickel quietly made its way into circulation. It was the same familiar design we'd seen since 1938, Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, Monticello on the reverse. But what most people didn't realize is that not all 1971 nickels were created equal. First, let's talk about how this coin was made. The 1971 nickel was struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Interestingly, Philadelphia-issued nickels from this year carried no mint mark, while the ones from Denver have a small D mark to the right of Monticello. The coin itself was made of a copper-nickel alloy. There was no silver involved, which is one reason many people assume these nickels aren't valuable. But here's the twist. Certain rare errors and special varieties from this year make this coin a hidden treasure for collectors. Now let's get into what makes some of these coins extremely valuable. One of the most exciting features to look for is the full steps variety. On the reverse side of the coin, Monticello is depicted with a small staircase at the base. Due to weak strikes or worn dies, most nickels show blurred or incomplete steps. But if you happen to find a 1971 nickel where all 5 or 6 steps are crisp, clean, and separated, what collectors call full steps, then you've got something special. These coins are exceptionally rare in pristine condition, and collectors will pay top dollar for them. Another rare occurrence to watch for is minting errors. These are coins that came off the press with mistakes that now make them worth a small fortune. Some 1971 nickels were struck off-center, meaning the coin was not aligned properly during minting, resulting in a coin with part of the design missing or shifted. Others were struck on the wrong metal planchet. Imagine a nickel that was accidentally made on a dime blank. These types of errors are like lottery tickets for collectors. There are even reported cases of double die errors, where the lettering or design appears to be doubled because of a misalignment in the die during the minting process. If you look closely at the words "In God We Trust" or the date 1971 and see signs of doubling, then you might be holding on to something far more valuable than you think. But wait, it gets even more interesting. There are also proof-like nickels from this year that were never meant for circulation. These coins were struck with extra pressure on highly polished dies, giving them a mirror-like shine. While not official proof coins, these unusual finds can be extremely desirable, especially if combined with a rare error or the full steps feature. Now let's talk about condition. If you pull a worn, scratched 1971 nickel from your change jar, it's probably worth 5 cents. But if you find one in mint state condition, meaning it shows no signs of wear and still has that fresh, original luster, its value can rise significantly. If that coin also happens to have a rare error or is a full steps variety, then you're in a completely different ballpark. Collectors aren't just paying for metal, they're paying for history, rarity, uniqueness, and quality. A coin that survived over 50 years without a scratch, that came out of the mint with a rare mistake, or that shows the full architectural detail of Monticello. That's not just currency, that's a piece of art. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to have a 1971 United States 5-cent coin with one of these rare errors, struck in uncirculated condition, with full steps or a significant mint mistake, it could be worth up to $74,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $74,000, that's the magic of numismatics. That's the thrill that drives collectors to dig through old jars, estate sales, flea markets, and inherited collections. Because you never know when an ordinary coin might turn out to be an extraordinary discovery. So don't overlook those nickels. Check your pockets, your piggy banks, your family's forgotten coin rolls. You might just uncover a hidden treasure that's been sitting there for decades. Top 4, we're diving into a coin that has likely passed through millions of hands unnoticed. But for a lucky few, this ordinary-looking nickel could turn out to be a life-changing find. Today, We're talking about the 1973 United States 5-cent coin, commonly known as the Jefferson Nickel. Now, before you dismiss it as just another old coin with a face value of 5 cents, hold on tight. Because once you learn about the rare features, the valuable minting errors, and the shocking amount collectors are willing to pay for the right one, you'll be racing to check your change jars, dresser drawers, and old coin rolls. Let's begin with the story behind the coin. In 1973, the United States Mint continued its long-standing production of the Jefferson Nickel, a design first introduced back in 1938. On the obverse, we see the side profile of America's third president, Thomas Jefferson, and on the reverse, the elegant and iconic Monticello, his Virginia estate. The design seems simple, familiar, and unchanged. But the truth is, beneath this ordinary look lies a world of value for those who know what to look for. What makes the 1973 nickel so special? First, the sheer rarity of well-preserved coins from this year. Most of the 1973 nickels were struck for circulation. That means they were tossed in pockets, passed around in everyday transactions, and subjected to decades of wear and tear. The vast majority you'll find today are scratched, worn, or heavily circulated. But a tiny number, far fewer than most people realize, escape the chaos of daily commerce. These coins were either stored away untouched or accidentally preserved in mint sets. When one of these coins survives in uncirculated, mint-state condition, its value instantly jumps. But it gets even better. What really drives collectors wild is when a coin like the 1973 nickel contains minting errors. Now, don't be fooled. These aren't mistakes that make the coin worthless. Quite the opposite. These are the kinds of errors that make a coin exceptional. Let's take the double die error as an example. A double die occurs when the coin is struck twice slightly misaligned, creating a shadow-like doubling on the letters or numbers. If you spot this doubling on the date 1973, or in the inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust, you might be holding an extremely rare version that's highly sought after in the collector's market. Another highly valuable variety is the full steps nickel. On the reverse of the coin, at the base of Monticello, are a set of steps. Most nickels show these steps partially worn or poorly struck. But in a well-made 1973 nickel, these steps can appear fully defined, sharp, and complete, what collectors call the full steps variety. This tiny detail makes a huge difference, especially when the coin is in pristine condition. And don't forget the off-center strikes, where the coin design is misaligned, sometimes resulting in a crescent-shaped blank space. Or the rare cases where the coin was accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchet, like a blank mint for a penny or dime. These errors are not only extremely rare, but they're also incredibly valuable. What's even more exciting is that some of these rare coins slip through unnoticed and end up in circulation. That means the next time you get change at the grocery store or find an old coin stash in the attic, you might stumble upon one of these hidden gems. For collectors, the thrill is in the hunt. The idea that an everyday coin, something passed over by millions, could turn out to be a rare treasure is what makes this hobby so addictive. And the 1973 Jefferson Nickel is the perfect example of how much history, mystery, and value can be hidden in something so small. Of course, condition matters. A 1973 nickel that's been sitting in someone's pocket since the Nixon administration probably won't fetch more than face value. But if you have one in mint state, especially with full steps or one of the rare mint errors, you could be holding something truly valuable. Now, it's time for the moment you've been waiting for. How much could a 1973 Jefferson Nickel be worth? Well, if you happen to have one in uncirculated condition with a significant minting error, such as a full double die, a full steps reverse, or a rare off-metal strike, then that little 5-cent piece could be worth up to $71,000. Yes, you heard that right. $71,000. So don't underestimate those nickels. Start looking through your old coin jars, family coin albums, or even your childhood piggy bank. You never know what might be sitting right under your nose, waiting to be discovered. Top 5. We're diving deep into the story of a coin you've probably seen 100 times, but never like this. We're talking about the 1984 United States 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson Nickel. At first glance, this coin might look like any other small piece of change rattling around in your kitchen drawer, your car's cup holder, or the bottom of your pocket. But don't be fooled, because hiding among these everyday nickels is a coin that could be worth far more than its face value. In fact, one version of this coin has been valued at an astonishing amount that we'll reveal at the end of this video. And trust me, it's going to blow your mind. Now, let's talk about what makes the 1984 nickel more than just spare change. The Jefferson nickel has been in circulation since 1938. Featuring a familiar portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the front and his famous Virginia estate, Monticello, on the reverse. The design remained mostly unchanged for decades, including in 1984. But here's where things get exciting. Not all 1984 nickels were struck equally. In fact, some were minted with unusual mistakes, errors so rare that they've become incredibly valuable to collectors. These aren't accidents that ruin the coin. Quite the opposite. These mistakes turn the coin into a numismatic jackpot. Let's start with the double die error. This occurs when the coin die strikes the metal twice, slightly out of alignment. On a 1984 nickel, this could result in noticeable doubling on the inscriptions like Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date 1984. If you've ever seen letters or numbers that appear slightly shadowed or look like they're doubled, you might be staring at one of these rare and valuable errors. These coins are few and far between, and that's exactly what makes them so desirable. Another thing collectors look for is a full steps designation. On the reverse side of the coin, Monticello stands with a staircase at its base. In most circulated nickels, these steps are worn down or poorly struck, making them blend together. But if you find a 1984 nickel where those steps are fully detailed, with 5 or 6 distinct lines visible and no breaks, you've got a full steps nickel, and collectors go crazy for them, especially in uncirculated condition. Now, let's talk about another kind of rarity, off-center strikes. These occur when the blank metal planchet is not properly aligned with the dies, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted to one side. Some off-center strikes are minor, but others are dramatic, with nearly half the design missing. Those are incredibly valuable and eye-catching. Combine that with mint state quality, and you're looking at a major collector's item. But that's not all. There have also been reports of wrong planchet errors, where the coin is accidentally struck on a blank mint for another denomination. Imagine a nickel that was mistakenly made on a penny-sized copper planchet. It's an error that stands out immediately, and it's one collectors would pay big money to own. Now here's where things get really interesting. Condition matters. If you've got a 1984 nickel that's been through decades of vending machines, pockets, and weather, it's probably worth just 5 cents. But if you've got one that was pulled from circulation early and kept in pristine condition, shiny, scratch-free, and with sharp detail, you might be sitting on a small fortune. And if that coin also has one of these rare minting errors, or the full steps feature, that's where things go from exciting to extraordinary. For coin collectors, finding a rare variation of an otherwise common coin is like striking gold. It's not just about the monetary value, it's about the history, the craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovery. And with the 1984 Jefferson Nickel, all those elements come together in a powerful way. What is the actual value of a 1984 nickel with the right combination of features, say, a full steps designation, a rare mint error? In mint state condition, here it is. The moment you've all been waiting for. Such a coin, preserved perfectly and blessed with one of those once-in-a-million minting mistakes, has been valued at up to $69,000. Yes, you heard that right. $69,000 for a coin that once bought you half a candy bar. Just goes to show you. Never underestimate what might be hiding in plain sight. That small, shiny piece of metal in your pocket could be the key to an incredible discovery. Go check your jars of change, your old coin rolls, and your forgotten piggy banks. Who knows? You might just be holding on to one of the rarest and most valuable nickels ever made. If you enjoyed this video and love learning about valuable coins, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a chance to uncover hidden treasure. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting.